The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Chen walked to the podium. Around her, representatives from 73 species watched with barely concealed contempt. The humans had been invited to this emergency session not as equals, but as a curiosity, a primitive species that had stumbled into interstellar politics far too soon. The Zarathi Empire demands immediate cessation of human expansion into the Orion sector, declared High Commander Vexthor, his crystalline exoskeleton refracting the chamber's light into rainbow patterns. Your kind has been granted more tolerance than you deserve. Do not test our patience further. Chen's expression remained neutral. She had expected this. For 3 years, humanity had been the joke of the galaxy. Their ships were slow, their weapons antiquated, their diplomatic efforts clumsy. The elder races, species who had conquered the stars while humans still lived in caves, had watched Earth's fumbling attempts at colonization with the same amusement one might reserve for a child playing with blocks. We decline, Chen said simply. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien laughter, chirps, and sonic vibrations. The Krell ambassador's tentacles writhed in what passed for mirth among his kind. Even the normally stoic Verath delegation allowed themselves the equivalent of amused expressions. You decline? Vexthor's voice dripped with disdain. Perhaps you misunderstand your position, human. The Zarathi Empire alone commands 40,000 warships. The Krell Dominion fields another 30,000. Together, the species in this chamber could darken your sun with our fleets. Your entire civilization exists because we have allowed it. Is that so? Chen's voice remained calm, almost conversational. Then perhaps you should look outside. Confusion rippled through the assembly. Several delegates activated holographic displays, accessing the station's external sensors. The laughter died like a candle in vacuum. Outside the station, stretching across the stellar backdrop in perfect formation, hung the human fleet. Not hundreds of ships, not thousands, millions. The orbital sensor arrays struggled to count them all, their quantum processors overwhelmed by the sheer scale of what they were witnessing. Impossible, Vexthor breathed. Our intelligence indicated humanity possessed no more than 5,000 combat vessels. Your intelligence was correct, Chen replied. 3 months ago. She gestured and a holographic display materialized above the podium, showing vast industrial complexes in the asteroid belts of Sol, Alpha Centauri, and a dozen other human systems, self-replicating automated shipyards, each one pumping out vessels at a rate that defied comprehension. You see, the other species in this galaxy follow certain conventions, Chen continued. You limit yourselves. You wage war by rules so ancient you've forgotten their rules at all. You build your ships with artisanship, with pride and craftsmanship. You crew them with your finest warriors, train them for years, integrate them into complex hierarchies. She paused, meeting the eyes, or optical sensors, of every delegate present. We build our ships with robots. We crew them with AI. We manufacture them in assembly lines that never sleep, never tire, never stop. We learned efficiency from our industrial revolutions, learned mass production from our world wars, learned automation from our information age. All those bloody, terrible lessons you never had to learn because you found peace before you found the stars. The Verath delegation leader, Ambassador Thais, finally found her voice. This is madness. The cost alone is manageable, Chen interrupted, when you're not constrained by tradition or honor or the prestige of handcrafted vessels. Each of our ships costs roughly what you'd spend on a luxury yacht. They're not elegant. They're not sophisticated. But there are millions of them, and more roll off the assembly lines every hour. Vexthor's exoskeleton had lost its luster, dulled by what humans would recognize as fear. You would go to war with the entire galaxy? We would prefer not to, Chen said. War is expensive even for us. But you asked if we understood our position. Allow me to clarify yours. She expanded the holographic display. These are the shipyards we're willing to show you. The public ones. The ones in our home systems where you can track them with your sensors. The display shifted, revealing construction sites in the depths of interstellar space, hidden in nebulae, buried in the cores of dead worlds, shipyards so vast they had their own gravitational fields. And these are the ones we kept secret. We have production capacity that exceeds the combined output of every species in this chamber, by a factor of 50. If we wanted to, we could replace our entire fleet 3 times over before your shipwrights completed their next vessel. The chamber had gone silent again, but this time it was the silence of shock, not contempt. Humanity spent 10,000 years killing each other, Chen said quietly. We got very, very good at it. We learned efficiency through blood and fire. We optimized murder until it became an industrial process. You species never had that. You found the stars before you found total war. You learned cooperation before you learned genocide. She closed the display. We're not asking for special treatment. We're not asking for territory that belongs to others. We're simply informing you that the Orion sector is ours. We claimed it. We'll develop it. And if you try to stop us, we will darken every sun you hold dear with ships so numerous, they'll blot out the stars themselves. Bexthor seemed to deflate. The council will need time to deliberate. Of course, Chen said pleasantly. Take all the time you need. But perhaps consider this. Humanity would much rather trade with you than fight you. We're not your enemies unless you make us so. We learned a hard lesson from our own history. Everyone loses in total war. Everyone. We'd prefer a different outcome. As the council delegates filed out in stunned silence, Chen allowed herself a small smile. The other species had looked at humanity and seen primitives, barbarians barely fit for the stars. They'd been half right. Humanity was indeed barbaric, evolved from a world where evolution favored the most efficient killers, where survival demanded innovation in destruction. But they'd mistaken humanity's restraint for weakness, their diplomatic overtures for desperation. Earth's resolve had been forged in the fires of 100 conflicts, tempered in the atomic age, refined through centuries of learning to channel violence into productivity. The galaxy had mocked that resolve. Now they would learn to respect it. Outside the station, the human fleet maintained its perfect formation, a promise and a warning written in steel and fire across the cosmos. And in shipyards across a dozen systems, the assembly lines continued their endless work. Each new vessel a testament to humanity's singular lesson to the stars. Never mistake patience for weakness. Never mistake diplomacy for surrender, and never ever mock the resolve of a species that learned to industrialize warfare before they learned to dream of peace among the stars.